Okay. Oh, I didn't bring myself some water. Oh no. What's up, everybody? It's iCkEdMeL. Welcome to the live stream. Thank you for coming by. And you've probably heard by now, breaking news: submersible parts from this submersible vehicle submarine have been found. So we're going to talk about some of those pieces. We're going to take a look at some of these pictures that I've downloaded. Mo was helping me out, so thank you for that. A couple of people emailed me about this and tagged me on Twitter. And there's a couple interesting things. And also what I want to do is, because as if you've been watching me regularly, if you watched yesterday's live stream, I've been going down the rabbit hole, as a lot of people have been as well. And so I'm going to talk about two different stories too at the end of this live stream. And one of those stories I think is kind of like well, they're both interesting, but like relatable, maybe one of them, because in one of these things, they're under the water. Some sort of pipe either came loose or it was open. I saw two different reports. I don't know. And like 5 men, I think, got sucked into this tube, and it's on video. And it's like a really crazy story. I'm just going to talk a little bit about it, and I'll show you the video, and I'll put the link. It's at Mr. Ballin did a video on it. And then there's another story that I went down the rabbit hole last night of this just crazy story about how these people drowned in a cave that I just thought it was so interesting and weird. I have it saved here, so I'll show that at the end of the live stream. Boom, boom, boom. This video was even age restricted, the one that I'm going to talk about, but we'll try to skirt the lines. So, yeah, man, good afternoon. Let me see who's in the chat. I made sure I launched it correctly this time, too, because yesterday I launched it in 4K by accident. I was editing in 4K, which, by the way, that video that I was working on, I haven't even touched today. So, I don't know. After this live stream, hopefully I go back to editing, sit my butt down, and actually edit the video and put it together, because I want to do pictures and videos if I can, if I have time for that video. So, what's up? What's up, Rachie, Amber, Rebecca, Sarah, Fleur? Sam says, Merp. Pressy says, I'm so glad Mel did this to pull me away from it. I wasn't even thinking there was really a lot to talk about with this. I thought I could actually, this is from last night, I thought I could actually do a short video, but Mo was telling me Miyu's like, she wants me to come on. So I was like, you know what, I'll just come on. Even though it could be a short video, I like coming on and hanging out and just talking. Let me just show you this. When I was talking with Mo on the phone and we were looking at videos, I came across this on Facebook. Apparently, they have a mod on Grand Theft Auto, right? 5. Grand Theft Auto 5, that you can play. They already have a thing you can play as the Submersible. Check this ish out. Let me refresh it. They're still on. Look at this. They already have a mod video game. And it's not just this person. There's multiple people that they're playing as the Submersible underwater, and they're exploring the Titanic. I'm a little surprised how fast they did this. Check this out. Isn't that crazy? I haven't been married yet. I'm still single. I'm working on a questionnaire, so you're gonna have to answer the questions. Using a game controller, right? Using the same game controller. Oh man, I shouldn't laugh. Isn't it incredible? Ooh, Karma's been playing one on Roblox. They have a Roblox one too? Thank you, Tamster. Appreciate that. Thank you for watching. Yeah, I was tripped out by... Oh, wait, look at it. They even have like the... Ignore that, whatever that is on the side. I cannot believe it. These kids are innovative. And, I mean, they came up with that pretty quick. I don't know how hard it is to do the mod in the video game, but I guess they put an ocean area. They put a Titanic. So I just want to share that. I thought that was interesting. The kids are already playing the video game. And ain't that something? Huh? All right, so let's get a little bit to this, and we can talk about some theories too, where this implosion took place. We have some pictures, some videos, parts that were found. I mean, this really stuck out. Mo found this one first when we were looking together. This looks like that the door with the window. And I believe that material is plexiglass. And so one of the things that Mo had noticed too is you notice how the rope is wrapped and interlooped inside of the hole, so that plexiglass is gone. I wonder if that could have been one of the points where the point where the breach happened first and then it imploded, or was it like the cylinders? Because one of the other parts too. Let me see. You sent me so many pictures. I don't know now. Let me look for this picture here real quick. Okay, here it is. This cylinder thing. Let me show you this. But the part that so far I don't think has come up. I did save it. So far we haven't seen like that carbon, the hole. So the other thing that could have been, it could have been the hole. Here it is. See, this is the. So that part is like the part that's like between the door and the actual hole. So let me show you a picture. Boom. That cylinder part there. All right. I mean, and of course, I've been watching so many experts. I'm like, damn, I can't even talk about this shit. Right? So, but I wonder if like the whole part, the carbon fiber part, imploded and all the other parts flew off. Because so far, I haven't seen that they brought up, and I don't even know. Because that carbon fiber is like interwoven, right? It's like woven around and around and around. It's like almost like threads. Carbon fiber hull winding. Vic posted this on Discord. That's like that. It's like winded around. So it was wrapped around the titanium. Oh, 480, that's the best they got? Okay. Presley said they say that the last top bolt wasn't fastened because they couldn't reach it. Well, I remember that's what the reporter said, that news reporter that had gone on a previous trip. But I feel like I heard that from other people as well, that they didn't do that last bolt. It must have been a custom thing that they just, I don't know, for whatever. I remember when the reporter asked about it, he had said that like, they said that they couldn't reach it, like you said, but also that like it wasn't necessary. For me, I'd be like, bruh, put the bolt in, you know? Bat Cactus has 4 different materials, okay? A tube of flat and inconsistent pressure. That's what I was hearing. End cap ring glued on. Did you know too that this guy had an experimental plane, Stockton, and that he flew over, was it to Cali or somewhere, to meet the other billionaire with his son that didn't go on, to try to convince them to go on this shit. He flew on that experimental plane. Let's check out this news thing here.
Brought them to shore. Joining us now is NBC News correspondent.
That's Ron. It says it's tiny. It's millions of tiny threads.
Ron, walk
TD,
us
what's
through
up?
what we're seeing in these newly released photos and how were crews able
Vegas,
to
okay,
Vegas.
I think it was Vegas. Yeah.
There's been a crew out on a salvage ship out there in the North Atlantic for the last 10 days or so, using an underwater robotic device, which is the device that was used to find the wreckage in the first place. They've been able to lift it from the bottom of the Atlantic, some 12 to 13,000 feet deep on the bottom, near the wreckage of the Titanic, which is, again, 2.5 miles down or so. And they've brought some of this to the surface. It appears to be pretty big chunks. It's wrapped in tarps and other material. It's unclear exactly which pieces of the Titan craft it is. Some of it appears to be part of the nose cone or the back cone. And again, they're fairly significant size.
That
chunks.
piece too, that's the, let's see if I have the image here. Maybe I didn't save all the images that was being sent to me. That piece that has the black end. I did save this image here. Here it is. So this part, this is, I believe, I guess the bottom part. I think this black piece right here. I don't know where that came from. The railing. This part here, I think, is like, even though this is a different image because it's been modified a couple times, this black part here, I think, is the top part of the back. Because there was another image that I saw. This thing had the black piece sticking out up top. Oh, here it is. Let me show you. Black piece, PNG. Let me show you this. I think this part here is like the top part. See, there's one over here, top of sub, and then there's another picture right here. See, like that black piece hanging out the top? I think that's what that is. And then there's a dome here. So that piece that's hanging up that they took out with the plexiglass, which the plexiglass looks like it's missing, which I don't know. That could have been after the implosion happened, or that could have been the reason for the implosion. I don't know. And then there's the cylinder here, and then there's another cylinder here, and then there's another dome in the back end by the tail. Let me show you this picture. Okay. So we got the cylinder, the dome here, and we got the dome on the back end, and then you got the tail thing, and the cylinders, and then there's the carbon fiber wrapped around the titanium, and then these are the black pieces too that I think they found that's being pulled up. And I'm sure you guys could probably pick up on stuff too.
Which is a bit surprising because
This part here, I think this is the top part.
Described as a catastrophic implosion about an hour and 45 minutes into its voyage, its journey down into the depths of the Atlantic last week, killing 5 people aboard. But it's somewhat remarkable. They've been able to pull this wreckage up. The operation out there is over, we understand, and now this will all be turned over to investigators.
Oh, so I wonder if they got everything they could find?
We're trying to determine what caused this to happen.
Yeah, Ron, walk us through what we know about how investigators will approach determining what happened here.
It appears the U.S. Coast Guard is going to take the lead on this. Remember, it happened in international waters, but an area where the U.S. was patrolling and doing search and rescue operations. The Canadians are also involved in this. Remember, it's a multinational operation. The victims are from several different countries. And again, this was in international waters. The focus is on the craft itself. Remember, there were warnings and there were concerns raised about its construction, about the material, that it's made out of carbon fiber. The pilot of the ship, the CEO of the company, Stockton Rush, had been warned and criticized by people in the maritime industry who suggested that this was not the way to do this kind of voyage, even though he had done this about 12 times. This was the 13th journey down to the Titanic. But a lot of focus on the design, the materials, and whether, in fact, this should have even happened. Again, the U.S. Coast Guard taking the lead, looking even also at whether there should be any criminal actions taken as a result of all this. Allison?
Ron, out.
There's some video of the parts coming out. And if you guys could hit the like button, I'd appreciate that. Oh, sorry, I didn't see the volume thing. If you could hit the like button, I'd appreciate that. And subscribe if you're not. And the volume, hopefully it sounds a lot better because I made some modifications yesterday. It shouldn't hopefully be cutting in and out. Somebody was telling me previous streams it's been cutting in and out. Rona said I misspoke, probably like 100 to 500,000 threads. See, the dome looks like it's missing, obviously, with this thing looping through it. And also the dome is something that kind of sticks out, as we can see from this picture here. Like a kind of pops out. I mean, not the dome, the plexiglass, which I even heard that plexiglass wasn't really rated to go down that far like that. I know, right? Who are they going to take legal actions against? I don't know. Yeah, well, I think there's another CEO in that company. I thought. I mean, Stockton was the main one, but there has been legal talk. I haven't watched any of the legal talk videos. It's amazing that they got that from that far deep.
Just bring you some breaking news now, and debris from the Titan Submersible, which was recovered from the ocean floor near the wreck of the Titanic, has been brought back to shore. Let's show you these images. You can see that they show the remains of the vessel being unloaded from the ship, the Horizon Arctic, at the Canadian Coast Guard Pier in St. John's in Newfoundland. So those images there of the Titan Submersible wreckage being recovered from the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. You can see there crews pulling those pieces of the sub from the waters and off the ship there more than a week.
What do you guys think gave away? Was it the first thing to give away that caused the issue? You think it was the carbon fiber or like the plexiglass? Was it the bolt? If you had to guess. Maybe they'll be able to find out with reconstructing, unless it was the hull, because it doesn't look like they were able to pull the hull up. I don't even know if that carbon fiber, I don't even know if they'll be able to recover that. But then there's the titanium steel, which I haven't seen him pull up either.
It imploded. It imploded, of course, around 13,000 feet underwater, close to the wreckage of the Titanic, killing all 5 men on board. And now an international group of agencies is investigating what may have caused that implosion, with US maritime officials saying that they're going to issue a report aimed at improving the safety of submersibles worldwide. So those latest
carbon fiber
there of the Titan
the bolts
submersible are being taken off that ship in Newfoundland.
We should do a little poll. Little poll to see. Anybody been following that trial about the ex-Border Patrol agent? And he killed his like mistress and baby. What part? Explosion. Carbon fiber. Only gives you 4 options. Is that any good? It's a sad one. Another video of the parts being removed. Yeah, that plexiglass is gone. You get an even better shot there. I mean, I don't know if that's what caused it or it's just the effects of the implosion, the after effects. Christina, thank you for the super chat. Says, I hope it works like this. That they are now on the Titanic partying with the other souls and can see it in its glory. Maybe. One of the guys, one of the guys that was on that trip that had gone there multiple times before was really big into the Titanic, as I'm sure all of them were. And I think I heard that his daughter she felt at peace because he would have wanted to be there by the Titanic or something like that. 49% say they believe it was the carbon fiber. 40% say plexiglass. That's 200 votes. There's the cylinder. Caleb, thank you for the 11-month membership. Amazing. Thank you guys on Facebook for liking the stream as well. That looks like the, let me see. That looks like the back portion to me, huh? The curved back portion. Maybe. I wonder if it's like, I don't know, the under part? One of the sides? Or is it the top? Yeah, these are the bottom pieces, I think, that the landing pieces. Oh, what did I do? I mean, it looks different in different pictures. Yeah, like this part right here. Some of the pictures it looks like a white piece, but I think these are the parts right here. It's being carried right there. There's the black top. Oh no. Oh, what the hell? Oh. Oh.
Vanilla has never seen the unobstructed sky. You could see the look on her face when she first sees her first moment of freedom. Every place that she lived before was either in a cage that
Oh,
was
no matter.
Vanilla
Florida. Wow. The first time seeing the sky?
was born into laboratory experiments, kept in a facility which had no grass.
Whoa. Yeah, to me that kind of looks like that, possibly that back piece that's hanging. Yard scrap. Oh.
Adventure was supposed to end. Here's how the adventure was supposed to end. The crew opening the Titan's sealed dome, the way OceanGate showed in this video for would-be clients.
What's up, gentlemen? How are you doing? Hey.
What the company didn't publicize were the concerns highlighted
Oh,
in
we
a
saw
letter
that.
from an industry committee in 2018, warning the current experimental approach adopted by OceanGate could result in negative outcomes from minor to catastrophic.
There's just no oversight, and then nobody really knows what's in the box.
William Conan says OceanGate operated in international waters since neither the U.S. or Canadian Coast Guard would have allowed Titan to dive without formal classification.
Sometimes that's an economic decision because classing is, it involves lots more money, lots more time.
Tamster, thanks for going to
OceanGate,
member.
based in Washington State, never sought the external certification that would have required rigorous safety testing. CEO Stockton Rush, who's now among the missing, once told a crowd there was no need for third-party certification because Titan wasn't made of traditional material.
These programs are over the top in their rules and regulations, but they had nothing with carbon fiber.
And while Rush boasted about the sub's novel controller,
I can hand it to anybody.
some weren't sold on it.
You can question a PlayStation remote as the main piloting tool, with that and an iPad.
Others wondered about a deep-sea excursion this time of year.
It's really early in the season, so I'm not sure, why OceanGate went out this soon.
Then there's that lawsuit settled out of court after a staff member warned of potential extreme danger to passengers. With so few answers about what happened, there's no telling whether past warnings predicted a disaster.
This was just we already watched this, but I was gonna look at this again a little bit. Just the part where they get in. This from the YouTuber.
We're on the platform right now, about to get inside the submarine. It's getting real. Jeez. I'm a little nervous now, boys.
It is. This is the part that they found, this little cylinder thing, and then this door with the dome.
All right. Shoes off.
Plexiglass.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, yo. Hey. All right, we're inside the submarine right now. Got the owner right back there, Stockton. That's the toilet.
There's the bolts.
We're having water leaking in the front.
Yes.
Then they'll put a vacuum on.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys. In the sub.
So any footage you see of Stockton, of course, he's passed away by now.
And all you're looking at right now is the exact same submersible.
Yeah, those are the
that
black pieces there, too. Bottom part.
We're going right now. Watch out for the toilet. Oh, we're doing it.
Ooh.
Oh my God. You're good.
There's the part 2 at the end. This is what I'm thinking. That piece that they were showing, I think it's like this top part here that's curved like that. I have a picture. I have to go back to the video. Oh, here it is. I think it's this part. See that piece that's open like that? I think this is the part right here. This little curved part, how it curves like that. So
A dive, who knows? Maybe we would have left that platform and maybe we would have imploded. But I can tell you right now,
has now arrived in St. John's Harbor. We have new images into us from our St. John's Bureau at CBC News. You're seeing in these pictures the Horizon Arctic.
Construction detail video shows the glued rings being put on. I did see that.
The Canadian ship, the first to locate wreckage from the Titan on the ocean floor. The company that operates the ship says debris is on board. The U.S. Coast Guard says 2 large debris fields were located on the seafloor, not far from the wreckage of the Titanic. And Titan, you'll remember, was diving down
That's the thing, too. They said 2 large debris fields.
4,000 meters wreckage of the Titanic. On the ocean floor, the company that operates the ship says debris is on board. The U.S. Coast Guard says 2 large debris fields were located on the seafloor, not far from the wreckage of the Titanic. And Titan, you'll remember, was diving down nearly 4,000 meters to that iconic wreck when it imploded a week ago Sunday. All 5 people on board were lost. We're going to bring you some expert analysis of what's going on, but let's get you right up to date on the facts that we have. Again, looking at the ship as it came in just about 90 minutes ago. Brett Ruskin is in Halifax.
PB in DC says it was the fuselage that imploded. Rumors are that he had integrity issues from all the dives. And that one person from OceanGate said to them, I wouldn't that until it's checked. I wouldn't pilot that until it's checked.
Facts with the latest. Brett?
I haven't seen that documentary yet, Darla, but I've heard that it's really good. Take Care, Maya. I haven't watched it yet.
Well, Heather, yeah, so expert analysis coming, some amateur analysis now, because we can see those sheets on the stern of that vessel, and we don't know exactly what's underneath it, but we do know the description of what the U.S. Coast Guard found. They found 5 major pieces of debris. That's according to the U.S. Coast Guard at various news conferences last week, including the tail cone from the Titan submersible. Now, we all kind of know what the submersible looks like these days after days of coverage with that curvature. One of the items, one of the large pieces of debris on the stern of the Horizon Arctic as it came into St. John's Harbor has a large piece with that same looking curvature. We also know that the dome shape that has the small window in it at the front, as well as one at the rear of the Titan, were both found a fair distance apart in 2 separate debris fields.
That's important, see?
Looking curvature came into St. John's Harbor has a large piece with that same looking curvature. We also know that the dome shape that has the small window in it at the front, as well as one at the rear of the Titan, were both found a fair distance apart in 2 separate debris fields. We also see
2 separate debris fields. So they're talking about the front, these little dome thing in the front with the window, the plexiglass, and then the dome in the back. So separately apart. Okay.
The stern of this vessel, what looks to be kind of a concave, a dome-shaped item as well. So again, we don't know exactly what may have been brought up from the bottom in terms of wreckage from the Titan, but we can make some kind of educated guesses as to what some of these pieces might be. And the process now is to literally piece them together, figure out what may have happened down there. Heather.
And that's part of the story we'll get to in a moment. Just to speak to the challenges of all of this, Brett, the Titan, as I mentioned, going down nearly 4,000 meters to where the wreck of the Titanic is.
Well, I mean, yeah, you talk about the cooperation that we've seen from this search. So within those pictures still, you can see kind of a yellow submersible. That is the Odysseus ROV, the Odysseus 6K. That stands for 6,000 because it can go down 6,000 meters. What had to happen was that team had to bring that submersible as well as two of those shipping containers that you see there on the stern of the ship. That came from Cape Cod, from a company in Massachusetts there, loaded on to the Horizon Arctic. They went out, and that ROV was the one that actually discovered these two debris fields. That ROV was the one that brought up those pieces that we now see on the stern. And I looked at the dimensions of that ROV, about the size of a smart car or so. So a good sized piece of machinery able to do those heavy lifts that we've seen. And so now it's a matter of hearing what officials have to say about these pieces of debris.
All right. So Lotfi's going to call in to give some of his thoughts. I just sent him the number. And then after that, we're going to talk to him for about 10 minutes. And then after that, I wanted to sidestep a little bit for these two other crazy stories. One of them is self-explanatory. The other one's a little confusing. Hola. Luffy, how you doing, man?
Yeah,
Thanks for calling.
Can you
Loud
hear
and
me?
clear.
Okay, because it's kind of muffled on your end, but yeah. You got questions? You want to start?
Well, I just wanted to know your thoughts maybe on some of the pieces that was brought up. And does your opinion still kind of stay the same, or like what do you think caused the implosion? I mean, does the pieces kind of change your mind, or does it just confirm what you've been thinking about the carbon fiber?
It does. It does. It does confirm. One thing to note, I hope I can finish this in 10 minutes like we did. But titanium and carbon fiber are two different materials, obviously. But you need to figure out a way on how to bond both of those materials together. So if you look at one of those videos, those promotional videos on OceanGate, you see that they use a glue. Once they were done with the tube, for the carbon fiber tube, the tubular structure, they used glue to attach a cylinder neck. You know, the rings that we're seeing?
Let me see if I can find it. It's on the OceanGate YouTube page.
Do you remember the
Yeah, here it is.
there
I
you
found
go.
it. I actually found
it. Yeah. So the rings that you see, those are basically glued onto the face or the surface of the carbon fiber, like the cylinder ends. And the place where you have the titanium, glued onto, that's what the domes would go on. I mean, that's titanium on titanium. Okay. Now the reason why you see the rings intact as well as the domes intact is because when this imploded, it's basically like a capsule. It popped in two directions. So you had two debris fields in two directions. That corroborates that point. And the thing about the plexiglass, yes, it did. Well, technically, it does confirm and not confirm because you need to start piecing everything together. I mean, after every airline crash, you have all the debris put in a huge hangar, and then they start looking at every square inch of materials, right? Then they go through the black box data, and then they start, walking back and where the failure points.
So let me ask you something real quick.
The plexiglass apparently.
The part that you're talking about, so you're saying like, because the middle part, the carbon fiber titanium middle would have like imploded, squeezed on itself, and then that's why the domes would have like popped out in there on different sides. Probably, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you go through one of the videos Vic posted on the Submersible forum in Discord, one of the videos, which was about an hour, 59 minutes long, on that channel, they actually did a calculation of how much squeezing, how much pressure you'd actually be subjected to if it did implode. And they calculated 46.5 kilograms worth of TNT going off in that small capsule. 46. If you can convert that to pounds, I think that's about like 107 pounds worth of TNT So they were liquefied.
Wow.
Forget about the carbon fiber compressing them and ripping them to shreds. They, you don't understand this. We actually have a delay with our response time. We actually have a response time, which is it's slightly delayed. So by the time you actually felt the pain and it went to your brain and you had a knee-jerk reaction, you're there. Yeah, I'm sorry, you're like basically mist, pink mist.
Right.
I'm sorry, I just painted a graphic image here. But the other thing with the failure point, yeah, it would be the carbon fiber. And there's another thing that I noticed regarding the carbon fiber's manufacturing is if you study the way carbon fiber is, the last Roland could also corroborate on this, but I went through part manufacturing for cars, and automotive carbon fiber is layered upon. And then you have them in a vacuum, and then and while it's being vacuumed, you have the epoxy in it, the glue. But the way they made it is like string. It was basically just strung. You know how a yarn?
Yeah,
you know,
I'm showing it right now.
Am I making sense?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I hope I'm not.
No, you're good. I'm showing it on the screen right now.
So what they essentially, what they're essentially doing here is just like yarning it around a tube. So and it looks shiny obviously, but carbon fiber itself is shiny to a small degree. And I'm also assuming that they might have epoxy added to it. That's why they're wearing masks in the video. But you also see them spudger in the epoxy on top of it. Dude, you're supposed to have them in an oven, and they're also supposed to be subjected to pressure from all sides, so you have that structure. Regardless of which, dude, this guy, I did a bit of digging regarding him. He had a background with aerospace engineering. So the thing that he constructed, the stuff that he did, this is fine for aerospace adventures. Airspace. Essentially, what he did with his aircraft, it was fine. He went to like 400 atmospheres worth of pressure down there. So, one more thing regarding the stress point that you were talking about. The plexiglass, in my opinion, it popped out when you have that
explosion happened.
The implosion.
Okay. That makes sense.
Well, technically, yeah, there was it exploded from outside, and you had everyone being squashed in. Well,
You want to tell people too? I forgot what you told me the last time you called, that the experience that you have again. The experience, like your education or something. I remember you said something about. I forgot what you've done or.
I'm an architect.
Architect. Okay. Cool. Amazing. Thanks, Luffy. Yeah,
well, Thank you. Thank you very much. Is it 10 minutes? Has it been 10 minutes?
I don't know. I'm not timing. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts you want to share before?
If there's a question I could probably answer, it's
okay.
random. But this manufacturing process and everything. Oh, one more thing is, if considering some people might have even said that, why didn't we bolt it on? Why didn't we bolt the titanium collar onto the carbon fiber? The thing is, carbon fiber is weak. Remember what I said regarding compression and tensile? I went back to the live chat for that stream, and I just recalled the point. Compression is where you have something pushing inward, and tensile is when you have something pulling outward. So carbon fiber is horrible when you try squishing it. That's why in Formula One, in all those races, when you have a car butt into another car, you're pushing against that panel. That's why it flies off. But when you pull against it, if you pull it away, you'll see that it offers a resistance.
Okay.
So, and if you tried bolting, what's it called? If you tried getting bolts onto the carbon fiber, you're actually adding more stress points onto the surface or failure points. And with the subs, if you study all the other submarines out there in the world, you'll see that it's basically a uniform shape. Any porthole that's exposed does not hold any pocket of air in it. If it does, it's reinforced.
The other thing too, like the last time you called, you were saying that the way the implosion would have happened with the carbon fiber, that you said how exactly did you describe it? It would have been like a bunch of tiny like pieces shredding through or like cutting through.
Yeah, or essentially when carbon fiber is damaged, it
shatters.
So when it shatters, it ends up being like really sharp shards of glass. They can cut. they can puncture, they can cut and everything. But considering the amount of pressure that they were subjected to, I mean, that tubular frame was subjected to, which was on that video that Dick shared, 46.5 kilograms worth of TNT, dude, in a very small space where by the time you like, they're gone. I'm sorry to give that sound, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
By the time you actually had a chance to react, it's gone. Kaboom. So there was one more thing that I recalled that I forgot while I was talking to you. I don't know.
Somebody in the chat said carbon. Livonia said carbon also compresses different from titanium. Not good to have them bonded together.
Did you notice did you all notice? Oh, now I remember. The thing regarding the plexi, I'll get to that point that you mentioned just a while ago. The thing with the plexiglass window, a lot of people did explain, they did voice their concerns that he shouldn't have used plexiglass. But my point here is because of the explosion, the plexiglass popped out.
Right.
That's all that happened.
It wasn't that it gave away.
And if you, they're all covered, obviously. They're covered because they don't want photographers or paparazzi, taking images of this and sending it, influencing people, probably during an investigation. But the structure that's made of titanium, they all look, they look solid. Unless you look, until you start looking at inch by inch, you might see stretch fractures, but they look like they're proper. They're not deformed. And if you study the debris, you'll see that the panels, whatever damage that you see on the panels, how's the backup down to and about it? I think I do. Hoax. Sorry, I read the chat. So the material that you see, the debris that was pushed in two different directions, the damage that you see is where they were forcefully ejected in two directions. So, and the thing that, what was the point that you made regarding carbon fiber?
So somebody here said earlier that, Livonia said that carbon also compresses different from titanium. Not good to have them bonded together. And then Kenneth also said, I agree, carbon fiber actually makes titanium weaker.
This is one more thing that I now I remember. This guy, apparently, from what I know, don't read chat. Yes, no, true. This guy apparently had two people build the sub. Like there was this was Cyclops 2 and there was a Cyclops 1. These were the only two subs that he made. Dude, as far as I'm concerned, in architecture, in design, anything that's related to design, you need to have prototypes. Once you're satisfied with your prototype design, that's when you go into production. That's why when you see concept cars, they're so expensive because they spend hours and hours just trying to refine something that didn't, come right on a graph or a data point. And they're like, no, we're not happy with this answer. This guy just had two shells, Achi. Two friggin' shells. And the thing with carbon fiber is, you can find stretch fractures in carbon fiber if you are meticulous with how you observe it or how you study it. Like he took it over multiple dives and he left it as it is. If I was if I was in his place, I'd strip everything down, get it down all the way to the hull, and do ultrasound on it or ultrasonography on it, or dip it into an ultraviolet solution and then pull it back out and then start studying every square inch of the structure. The thing with tubular structures is that there can be internal failures as well. But this guy did nothing of that. And instead, he just brushed it off. And one of the videos that you had on the channel, the forums, he himself said that we don't need regulation, and I'm trying to fight against regulation. This is one of the reasons why you have certification and regulation. I mean, obviously, there are people who they can't afford education, but they have brilliant minds. But there's a reason why you have to go through some hoops in order to get something done. You know what I'm saying? And the knowledge that he had, the stuff that he did with the sub, if he took it into aviation, it would have been amazing. But he took it down the wrong, he went down the wrong rabbit hole. That's why I'm saying it. Dude, 13 minutes. I think it's the last thing anything else that you'd like to ask?
So that the ultraviolet thing, it would cause it to illuminate, and what you can kind of see, maybe look for defects. I'm just pulling up random.
The fractures.
Oh, fractures. Okay.
In it, yeah. And you also need ultraviolet radiation in order to cure the epoxy. But if you add too much UV, I mean, you can't. There's a point where you can't use UV too long, because that also degrades carbon fiber.
Interesting.
So, wrong place, wrong stuff. That's the best way of saying it in a nutshell. Any other thoughts? I mean, any questions you might have?
Let me see here. That cylindrical design has unequal pressure problem. Somebody else says iCkEdMeL different materials will bond together.
That's also a good point. That's also a good point. That's why you see most of the subs, the early subs, were all cylindrical, so the pressure is evenly distributed. That's also one of the reasons why you can actually have cinder blocks rest on top of an eggshell, without crushing it, like about 3 or is it 5? I forgot. 5 cinder blocks.
So let me ask you this: if so the picture that I have up is like the kind of like the design. So if that, I don't know what material that is, the back end of this submersible, let's say that caved in, and it was just that. Let's say that gave away, had some sort of like pressure damage. The other parts of it should still be okay, or could that be enough to cause everything else to screw up?
I just saw the picture right now. Remember?
It's okay. So like this back end of the tail, let's say it was just that collapse. Could that still be enough to damage everything else in the hull and then cause it to cave in, or would it have to be specifically this?
No. It's specifically the carbon fiber, because titanium, that can handle pressure. In fact, when you work with titanium, after you're done welding it or cutting into it, it actually reacts with oxygen. It has an oxide, and it's even harder to work with. That's why you need to have like specific argon gas in order to weld it. But the thing regarding carbon fiber is it does not like being pushed. It does not like being pushed from the outside. And then that's the weakest point. And the other thing that you need to understand is in the water, in the deep, if it fails catastrophically. If it doesn't fail, you're alive. You're good. So the only place that it's supposed to fail is in the middle, where you see the carbon fiber. And it was violently ejected in both directions. That's why you see the rear panels being, they look like something hit them. So essentially what you have is the rear the rear hemisphere, titanium hemisphere, that was pushed in that direction, towards the right. And everything else that didn't have air pressure in it, anything that didn't have air in it is not damaged. That's the best way of boiling it down.
Yeah, it makes sense that very plausible that the middle part, the carbon fiber, like you were saying, imploded, and then the other two pieces flew to other parts. Like that's where they're two different directions.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Luffy.
So essentially,
go ahead. Finish your thought. Finish your thought.
Oh, okay. Essentially, what he did was he was right to do what he did, like with the backup, the fail-safe. Let's just, for the sake of this discussion, let's just assume that his controller was fine and his software was fine. His water, the conduits, the wiring running from the front to the tail, all of that were all okay. Nothing leaked, no moisture buildup, nothing. This guy basically screwed up with the carbon. That's it. Oh, one more thing regarding sub design is, yes, it broke in half. Essentially, regarding the controls, you need what is called a HOTAS. HOTAS, yes. Hands-on throttle and, what's it?
HOTAS? HOTAS?
Throttle and stick. HOTAS, exactly. That's what you need in order for maneuvering your
like a joystick almost kind of thing?
A small variation of that.
It's like a joystick kind of?
You know what you see in helicopters?
Yes. Yeah.
Have you seen helicopters? So they apparently, both hands are used. One of them is basically throttle and pitch, and the right is basically your rudder, your right hand. So you need something similar. in a sub. But you don't need the subline pitch. You basically have, yeah, there you go. Yeah, there. You need something like that.
I mean, you said hot ass.
Yeah, well, it sounded like that.
No, you're good, bro, man.
And besides, it's like 3:30 a.m. So I'm sorry if the stream is canceled. So
No, trust me, you've been amazing, man. Thank you for the help and stuff. You're good.
No, thank you. No, thank you for the stream again. Back in
hot ass. It says acronym of hands and throttle and stick is the concept of placing buttons and switches on the throttle lever and flight control stick in an aircraft cockpit.
Exactly. And that, a small variation of that is with the Xbox controller or the PlayStation controller, the newest ones, not the older ones. By the way, did you know that the Logitech controller that he used is a knockoff? It was the design was ripped off of the first PlayStation.
Really, I didn't know that.
Even where the placement of the motors are for the feedback, you know, the vibration.
Yeah.
Where the motors are placed, they copied
the PlayStation 1 or PS2? Which one?
But they didn't copy the PlayStation 1.
I remember that game console classic. PlayStation 1.
Any other questions? I mean, I asked for 10, so it's close to 20.
I think that's it. Man. So, Luffy, thank you so much for calling, man. And thank you, Tubo, for the hours that you put in helping me with this computer when I had all these issues and stuff, man. So I appreciate you and helping out with the channel.
Dude, you do not need to thank me for that. No. Shut. Dude, I just like helping.
They're saying in the chat, everyone needs hot ass. Everyone needs hot ass.
I'm sorry.
Yes, everybody in the chat saying everybody needs some hot ass. Some hot ass.
They do. Okay.
All right, thanks, bro.
I gotta help them with that.
Appreciate you, dude.
Thank you for the
all right, of course.
No. Appreciate you.
All right, man.
Cheers.
Adios. All right.
Adios.
Cool. So that was Luffy, man. Appreciate that. To explain some things. And then somebody tagged me on this. I was playing it in the background, but this is kind of like what he was explaining. The implosion, the metal would have gave away, which would explain for like this piece being on one end and this piece being on the other side. That makes logical sense to me. And then the whole glass, which I believe it's plexiglass missing, that could just be a reaction or a cause of because the whole thing exploded. I forgot what they say, right? Cause and reaction, something. Vic, you hang up. No, you hang up. All right, so let's get to the extra stories, right? I want to share these because I've been, doing my little thing at night, which I really need to get on a better sleeping cycle. I fell off. Maddie's not in school. I've been up late. I wake up early, but then I go back to sleep. I've been on this college, high school sleeping regimen, whatever, which I really need to get off. But I'm somewhat starting to feel better. But this cough has just been like lingering. I've had it in the past where I just have like this lingering cough and it's kind of annoying. But before I play this video, I need to, it was kind of hard to find some damn article on this that made sense. I have two here. I really didn't like this explanation. I think this one does it. Okay, this is the one, I guess. Not the best. Mr. Ballin did a really good job of explaining this story. Definitely check out his video after if you'd like to see. But let's start with this. Okay. Trinidad diving tragedy. Caribbean disaster. And so, 4 divers were presumed dead by Paria Fuel Trading Company Limited. There's 1 survivor. It's a crazy ass story. We're gonna see. This guy has actually spoken out. Mo was helping me out with. Mo actually sent me the story. This guy spoken out. He feels horrible. This guy said I failed him. This is so messed up, the story, because from the accounts that I took, this company left these people to die down there. They were actually alive. I forgot for how many hours. You could hear them banging on the pipes. And they left them for dead. Let me get rid of this cough drop so I can talk properly. So 4 divers presumed dead after disappearing into a pipeline during an underwater maintenance exercise on Friday. A 5th diver, Christopher Baudram, was rescued on Friday evening. The only reason this guy was saved, and I was talking to Mo about this, it's just so interesting to me because I've used to watch these like survival videos. Was it Bear Grylls and other people, and they would always talk about like the decision you have to make, whether to go get help or stay and wait for help, which both could be deadly or rewarding. You could stay, nobody actually comes and ever find you, or you could leave and go, but then they find the spot that you were at and they don't see you there, and then you go and die, which I've seen both scenarios happen. And this is one of the scenarios that like this guy, the one survivor, decided that he's going to go and get help. They got sucked into this pipe, really thin space. I think it was 5 of them. I forgot Mr. Ballin told the story. But 2 of them decide to go through these pipes with water in them. So you have to submerge yourself. And the other guys stay behind. They start wedging themselves through these pipes. They're holding their breath. They have no idea whether there's air pockets or not at the end of it. You could be stuck, trapped in there, and you die. And the 2 of them came up to this part where there was like an air pocket or something, and they were able to get these air tanks. There's 2 air tanks. And so I believe what happened was the one guy put the air tank on. He said, I'm going to go. The other guy was like, don't go, just stay here. He was literally screaming at him. The one survivor is like, no, I'm going to go and get help. Let me show you this image of like where these guys were trapped. They got sucked. They were I believe they're at the top of this, right? They were working here in this area. There's a hyperbaric chamber. I saw conflicting reports whether they had opened it or there was a leak or some shit. I thought they opened it. Whatever happens, because there's 2 different air pressures. This had been here for a couple of years, like untouched. They were going to work on this. This thing opens and it literally sucks all of them in. In the video we're going to see, you see them there working on it, and all of a sudden it's just like, whoosh. They get sucked into the shit. I think this is what diving equipment stuck. I think this might have been where maybe they found that stuff. They had to work their way through these pipes. The one guy comes out to this part here. I guess he pulls himself up or swims up because at this point he had the air tank to this point here, but then he's stuck here. And then the rescue person is up top here, so they pull him out because he was holding onto a chain, supposedly. There was like a chain hanging down. He holds onto this chain until rescue comes. They pull him out, and you can hear the guys banging and screaming, and they're like, no, we're not letting you go. Like, they literally grab him and hold him back, and they said it's too dangerous, and they leave them there. It's a jacked up, messed up story, so these guys died down there. I believe they recovered, what was it, Mo? It was 5 people total. They recovered 3 out of the 4. There's somebody else still down there that they never got to recover. So a 5th diver, Christopher Baudram, was rescued Friday evening. The young divers were employed by LMCS Limited Company, which was contracted by Perea to conduct repairs to the pipeline. Up until Monday morning, a recovery operation for the divers was still underway. A timeline of events. A statement was issued by Perea, which I don't even trust these people, on February 25th, outlining an incident involving private contractors, LMCS, during an underwater maintenance exercise at the number 36 Sea Line Riser on berth 6, which is one of those, the berth 6 had been out of commission for a long time at some point. At Perea Trading Company Ltd, the company said during the exercise an incident occurred which resulted in the loss of sight of a five-member team who were being monitored from shore. The company said incident management protocols were triggered and 1 member was rescued. And the way this guy saved himself, because if he didn't pull himself out of there and really go, he would have been left for dead like the rest of them. They didn't even try. They didn't send any robots down there. I don't even think they sent any kind of like air or nothing for these guys. They left them for dead. The company issued another update around 3 p.m. involving a visit by Energy Minister Stuart Young, who visited the company and was given an assessment update. Families of the divers gathered outside the facility asking for answers and set a temporary station near the company's car park facility under a bus shed. According to a relative of one of the divers who assisted in the rescue of Christopher Baudram, reports of the divers in distress were received around 2 p.m. Friday afternoon, and he was contacted around 3 p.m. to assist. He said the following Baudram's rescue, they were prevented from performing any additional rescues by officials, that they stopped him. Perea issued another update around 12:27 p.m., February 27th, saying efforts were ongoing, followed by another around 5 p.m., and then issued an update around 6:30 p.m. advising a media briefing. At the media briefing Sunday night, Perea chairman Newman George indicated that the divers were presumed dead, with the rescue operation now converted to a recovery exercise. The company said cameras and underwater crawlers were used to assess the pipeline and determine that the probability of survival was very low, and the risk of rescue was high or intolerable. The company said commercial divers and the TTCG, after seeing video footage, said the risk was intolerable for divers to enter the pipeline. So they didn't send anybody. The robot thing, I read somewhere else that they didn't send it until after they were deceased, presumed dead, but people were arguing that they should have sent some type of whatever to investigate earlier. Terminal operations manager Colin Piper said they were unable to determine exactly where along the pipeline the men were, as they were unable to go further than 120 feet, which I agree, though, that is a very dangerous. I don't know how you're going to go into there and how you're going to pull these guys out. I mean, whoever you send there, they're putting their life at risk. How do you even get back out of there going in? How do you come back out? Further than around 120 feet to 1,200 feet long pipeline. Opposition calls for independent investigation into the incident. At the media briefing Sunday night, several questions were raised, including the reason for the delay, the initial report of distress, and the cause of the incident, the safety measures involved, and the delay executing the rescue operations. David Lee questioned the delay in the rescue operation as up to 10 p.m. Friday, witnesses reported hearing knocking sounds along the pipeline. Okay, that's what they were saying. They heard knocking. So this media briefing, February 27. Okay, February 26 was Friday afternoon. The after, okay. This is the pipeline thing here. A diagram outlining the pipeline and hyperbaric chamber in which the divers were working was shared during a media briefing on Monday. Young said the divers were in a hyperbaric chamber completing repairs on a pipeline where the water had been pumped out in order to change nuts to repair a leak to the pipeline. He said Friday workers involved testing and the removal of flanges that had been inserted to prevent leakage of any liquids. He said 4 divers were working on the repairs, while the 5th, Baudram, was the rescue diver assigned to the procedure. Young said that one of the flanges was removed, a suction was created. From what we can gather at the stage, when the first flange was removed, something took place that created a suction, sucking 5 divers in from what was an air chamber into the 30-inch pipeline. Okay, let's watch this video. So yeah, just I guess a heads up. Some people might find this very, like, I don't know, sensitive or distressing, as Mr. Ballin put it here. So just a little heads up, all right, before I play it.
Into the pipe. This video is highly distressing. Viewer discretion is advised.
So this is the water here. Is entering the, coming up to the hyperbaric chamber. And this is the pipe, I guess, or whatever they got sucked into, which is so crazy to me that they got pulled into this thing. comes out. And when this happens, the video wasn't cut. It wasn't edited. It's literally just 1 second. It's like this, not even a second, freaking milliseconds. I don't know how, and it's just whoosh. It's like crazy suction. That's crazy, dude.
So that's going to do it. If you got some.
So this is some of the no timeline done for survival done by Perea. We're going to watch this and we're going to watch this guy talk. I feel so bad for this guy. This is the one survivor. He actually tried to go back in to save them and they wouldn't let him. And honestly, he probably would have died maybe trying to do it. So, and I think it's good to see that for people to kind of understand, because I know sometimes like this whole pressure thing, it can be a little confusing. And dealing with water and pressure and everything, so to see that kind of gives you like how fast and instantaneous shit like that can be. You don't even have time to really think. It's just like, I just can't imagine like being disoriented, just whoosh, you're just in a tube with water. Like what the F just happened?
Carrier's terminal operations manager Colin Piper was asked if any attempt was made to calculate the amount of space that would have been necessary within the pipe to sustain the divers by chairman of the inquiry, Jerome Lynch KC. Mr. Piper responded by saying that at that point, Carrier didn't calculate such.
We were just really saying, listen, this is a vapor space. We looked at the air bottles and so on. Mm-hmm. You know, if one man had one air bottle per man, if even one man had maybe 2 air bottles. So that was the sort of limits we were given, 3, 4, 5 hours at the most. But we did not attempt to calculate it because we had limited information at the time.
He said he could not sanction the rescue due to the absence of clear visuals inside of the pipeline by the camera sent.
I mean, I have to be fair. I don't know how you would even do a rescue on this. I don't know what you would do. I mean, I just can't. I don't know. With the limited time, I mean, I don't know. Could they have sent something down? I don't know how you would. Could they send a robotic, at least with some air? But I don't even know. I mean, this is the tube. But these guys are pulling this. We're here at the top. And they got sucked into this shit.
When Carrier received the footage, 2 employees, Mr. Roll Seals and Mr. Osei Holder, were told to go to the booth with the dive companies to examine it, according to Mr. Piper, to determine if the divers could be rescued.
The 2 dive supervisors. And the dive supervisors both agreed that it was too risky and they will not allow their personnel to go into that pipeline. They simply did not have the information. I subsequently asked Mr. Seals what was his view. Mr. Seals advised me that he simply did not have the information. It was too risky.
He was questioned why he didn't send in those willing to rescue the men when Mr. Moodram resurfaced. Mr. Piper said the group willing to go for the rescue was emotionally charged.
If you believe...
Those are very controversial. I don't know. What do you think? Should they have sent somebody? Should they have not? It is a really dangerous mission. By the way, Icarus said, he said, check out what's the name of that thing again? I did watch that actually. Oh yeah, the Byford dolphin accident. I watched that. Is that the one where those guys died in the, what do they call it again? I'm trying to get all these terminologies in my head. They died in the pressure chamber because somebody, I don't know if it was because somebody opened the thing or there was a defaulty thing, but they all exploded inside. Have you seen, if that's the one I'm thinking, have you seen the actual PDF documentation where they actually show the bodies and stuff and the body parts and like, it's really graphic, but they have a PDF of everything that happened. That night I was going down the rabbit hole, I saw that. It was pretty crazy.
Room. That was a simple thing because we had 4 men in that pipe. If you believe that I just sat there and decided I'm just not sending a man in a pipe, right? You simply do not understand what we went through that night.
Faisal Kurban's son, Michael Kurban, was one of the LMCS divers ready to rescue.
This is the PDF. Explosive decompression accident. And on there it has the things that happen. You see the body parts, everything's, it's in black and white, but even the face, it's very, very crazy what happened to these guys.
The men. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TDT News.
So there's a survivor. I feel so bad for this guy.
Short and emotional Christopher Boudram recalled the events of February 25th, a day which he said he has been living every night since. Boudram went through every detail of his conversation with the divers in the pipe, but said that Rishi Nagisa did not respond and the men took the decision to come back for him. He said despite some being seriously injured, especially Kazim Ali Jr. and Yusuf Henry, they all formed a human chain to attempt to get out. Boudram said he had no idea he was the last to be sucked in and was told by the others he was heading in the wrong direction.
That's so crazy. So yeah, Mr. Barlow mentioned that too. They formed a human chain to try to get out. They were literally screaming at this guy to not go, to not go. That's a lot of will and determination when you're standing alone and everybody's telling you no, 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 no.
They all formed a human chain to attempt to get out. Boudram said he had no idea he was the last to be sucked in and was told by the others he was heading in the wrong direction.
He didn't even know, they didn't know which way they were. I'm sure it's probably disorienting. They don't know which way they're facing. He took a huge chance and gamble, and he saved his own life. He's the only survivor.
He said with only 2 tanks remaining, the air pockets were becoming smaller, and he took the decision to go get help and return.
I was always somebody who could control and see things through, and I feel like I tell her how it's coming back when I feel like.
Further up the pipe, Boudram said he encountered 2 other tanks to help him reach at the top of the riser, where Faisal Kurban also managed to follow behind him.
Everything inside me hoping a rescue was going on. Nobody was making an attempt to rescue me. You know what I mean?
Wow, dude. I've never seen this clip before. And like Mr. Ballin was saying in that story, that he had come across 2 air tanks. How crazy is that? And then being the only survivor, and you literally hear, I don't know how well he knew these men. I know he worked with them. I don't know, but hearing the people that you know banging for their lives.
Reaching close to the top, he said he was eventually rescued and insisted to his rescuers that the other men were alive.
I tell him, I say, boy, them fellas in there, let's go and save them, let's go and save them. And you was like, all right, but you relax. I said, don't tell me to relax. To what? Better let me go back and save them, because like all I want to do not.
Mr. Boudram also refuted claims that a conversation between him and Paria took place that night.
It's alleged that there was a conversation at around 10 o'clock that night, but you have no recollection of that.
Boudram said he had no idea if he was dead or alive near the end, but regretted that more could not be done to save the others. Sonolala, TTT News.
Isn't that crazy? This was 4 months ago. The family and friends of divers involved on February 25, 2022 tragedy held a memorial at sea for them on Saturday, 4 months ago.
Diving. Tears, balloons, memories, and recriminations were how the families, friends, and the lone survivor of the Paria diving tragedy marked the anniversary of the incident. On February 25, 2022, A 5-man dive crew was working on a section of underwater oil pipe when they were sucked into an oil-filled section of the pipe. 4 of these men, Faisal Kurban, Kasim Ali, Rishi Nagasa, and Yusuf Henry, died in the pipe. The survivor, Christopher Budram, said he remains in therapy 1 year after the incident.
I really want some changes for the future. In case something like this or something similar to happen in the industry, they would have some level of change where families would be treated better.
Mr. Budram said the way his colleagues' families were treated after the incident was unacceptable.
Justice for me means prosecution and financial compensation. That is justice for me. I want to see the people and them who made the decision.
No, this is totally a Trini accent. Trini.
Although it was a hard one, a wrong one, I want to see prosecution onto them. And I want to see proper financial compensation to the families and myself.
The pipeline where the incident occurred is owned by the Paria Fuel Trading Company, and the incident has been the subject of a commission of inquiry. Terry Ann Brown Campbell, CTT News.
Oh.
Maybe too dated.
Okay, so the last story that I wanted to, the little extra stories that I wanted to bring out for you guys. This one was kind of wild to me too last night. And this is by the channel Scary Interesting. We'll just play one story. Let me put, I'm going to put Mr. Ballin's thing. You want to go watch his video on the whole thing, you can. Mr. Ballin. Okay, put that one there, and then we'll just do Scary Interesting before we play it. I put it in the description. All right, so we're just going to do one story here.
One of the friends brought up a secret cave that she knew about and had been to on several occasions. This place was completely unique. The entrance to the cave is hidden on the mountainside and is obscured by bushes, so it's barely visible unless you know specifically where to look. Then from the entrance, it descends 30 feet or so before it forks off into 2 separate tunnels. If you go right, it descends for another 200 feet before eventually hitting a dead end. But if you go left, it descends for another 60 feet or so before coming up on a little pool of water about 2 feet in diameter. Then from the entrance, it descends 30 feet or so before it forks off into 2 separate tunnels. If you go right, it descends for another 200 feet before eventually hitting a dead end.
So that's interesting too, how there's a dead end, and then so you can go the wrong way.
Left, it descends for another 60 feet or so before coming up on a little pool of water about 2 feet in diameter. This pool is totally unassuming from the surface, but if you submerge yourself in the water, it opens up to another tunnel that's 15 feet long and about 3 or 4 feet high. At the end of this tunnel, there's a small room about 8 feet in diameter that can hold 6 to 8 people. Now, you might be wondering, if this tunnel is already 90 feet deep inside of a cave that's inside of a mountain, how could there be any light for you to find your way to actually get to the other side of the water? Well, apparently it is pitch black, but thankfully someone attached a rope from one side of the tunnel to the other so that you can travel across it without needing to see. The friend
and these are the kids right here, I believe. Let me show you. I just found this image. Get a little visual. These are the 4 kids right here. Jennifer, Scott, Ariel, and Blake.
To explain that in addition to the fact that it was pitch black, the water is freezing cold. One of the times she went, she almost passed out, and another time, she thought that she needed to get treated for hypothermia. But in spite of all of that, it was just such a cool, adventurous thing to do, she wanted to take the rest of them back to explore this secret chamber. It was almost like something out of a movie. The cave is secret, there's a secret chamber inside the secret cave, and you have to swim underwater to reach it. Not to mention the fact that this cave isn't really public knowledge. It's not a regular tourist trail that's open to the public. It's only known to people by word of mouth, and only explored by anyone who's more daring than most. Hearing all of that, the rest of the group was excited to check it out, so they all decided that they would go that night still to see if they could make it to the secret chamber. One of the friends that was with them at dinner couldn't go because he had work in the morning, so they called up another of their friends to join them, named Joseph. After Joseph arrived, they all set out for the mountain just outside of town in search of the secret cave at 2:30 a.m. About half an hour later, using flashlights, they found their way to the entrance and then into the secret cave. They made their way to the fork, made the left turn, and then descended the full 90 feet until they reached the pool of water.
And I think this is another image too. Here's the this is from the news. Another image, so you can see this here. They have to descend. When he's talking about descending the full 90 feet, like they have to come in here and they descend. And so then you could go the wrong way, but then you go down here. It's pretty, it says 6 feet here. And there was a rope as well. Somebody had put a rope so you can find your way. And so you go under here, and then this is like, there's like a little, small little cavern here. That's what he's talking about.
Upon seeing the pool of pitch black, freezing cold water, Joseph was immediately turned off by the idea of getting in, and so he told everyone that he was going to wait on this side of the pool. But the other four were completely set on going in, and so they told Joseph that once they made it to the other side, they'd tug on the rope to let him know they were safe. Then they'd check out the chamber, hang out for a little bit, and then they'd come right back. Joseph said okay, and then one by one, all four of them entered the freezing cold water and swam.
Would you guys go?
Tunnel. After getting to the other side, they pulled themselves out of the water and looked around the tiny chamber and saw that it was just a small rocky room completely enclosed, and there were some candles scattered along the floor. After sitting there for a little while, soaking wet, they decided that they'd seen enough and they'd head back. They slipped back under the surface one by one in a single file line, and here's where everything went wrong. Something happened midway through the underwater tunnel. The girl that was at the front of the single file line got most of the way through, and then something happened to her. In the icy water, she started to panic, or let go of the line and lost her way, or simply ran out of air and passed out. But horrifyingly, this meant that she drowned just a few feet in front of the others and completely blocked their exit. And then after blocking the exit in the dark water, the rest of them couldn't tell what was going on, so they butted up against her and panicked. And then they all drowned.
Isn't that crazy?
One by one in the tunnel, just a few feet from where Joseph was standing. About 45 minutes after they first entered the water, Joseph started to get worried.
Isn't that effing insane? So because they all went together one by one, the person that's ahead of everybody that's trying to get out dies and drowns, or there's a couple different theories, whether she died from hypothermia like the previous time and passed out, or and then drowned or whatever, or did she drown? So she stops here, she's blocking the way, and I don't know if they believe too that there was silt kicked up as well. It's dark, so these other kids behind her don't know where to go. So the first person that's leading the group stops and just kind of blocking the way. The person behind her, I guess, doesn't know what's going on. And then they can't communicate. They're underwater. So I don't know if that person's trying to turn around and say, hey, go back. But then the other person behind that person doesn't know what the hell is going on. And so they're all there. They all effing drown right there in this little water thing.
He thought that it was possible they were messing with him, but he felt that it was more likely that something was wrong and that they shouldn't have been gone for so long. He then left the cave to get cell reception and called some friends who had been to the cave and asked them if it seemed like they'd been gone for too long, and they all told him that it seemed like way too long. It was at this point that Joseph called 911 and a search was launched. Police and firefighters arrived on scene, but upon seeing the cave, realized that it was a precarious situation. The combination of water and narrow tunnel would mean that it was dangerous even for rescuers. The fire department then brought in pumps to pump out some of the water and lower the water level inside the tunnel. While they were doing this, they pumped air into the chamber in case they were still alive but trapped and running low on air. Finally, the water was lowered by about 6 inches, and that's when they found the first body not far into the tunnel. Once she was removed, they went deeper in and discovered the 3 others. They were also removed along with several flashlights, but it's not clear if they were from their group or if they were already in the water when they arrived that night. Tragically, following autopsies, it was determined that all 4 of them had drowned. Now, I want to give a caveat here that the events that led to their drowning are not entirely clear. This case in particular, there is some speculation on the part of the rescuers and some conflicting news reports about the incident. The reason that the rescuers believe they drowned on the way out and not the way in is because of the direction they were all facing when they were found. They were all facing the exit, so it's reasonable to assume they were on their way out, and then something happened to the person in front, causing the rest of them to get stuck midway through. Then, because of the way the tunnel is shaped and how narrow it is, and because it's pitch black, it would have been so difficult to communicate to the others to turn around, especially on a breath hold. The next thing that the rescuers were unsure about is exactly what happened that caused the first person to drown, and they've come up with a few possibilities. First, it might simply be the case that she ran out of air and passed out. Second, there is some
This is a really good question too, or theory. Bad air inside the chamber, because there was those candles in there. I don't know if they had lit some candles, but there was candles supposedly in there. So had people lighting candles, creating a fire, consume the oxygen that was in that little cavern. And so then when these people go back, they actually weren't really oxygenated how they should be, and they went back holding their breath, and
either the air inside the chamber was bad when they first entered, or that it got bad after they lit some candles and they used up the oxygen in the room. It's possible they were disoriented or confused, and then they took their breath hold with low oxygen air. Then when they went to swim back across the tunnel, they would have run out of oxygen earlier than they anticipated, causing them to pass out before reaching the other side. With the conditions in the tunnel, it seems like it would be so easy for a little bit of confusion to exacerbate the already difficult circumstance. And finally, there was also another individual who was interviewed about this incident who said that it's very easy to kick up silt and cloud the water. Apparently, he'd also been to the secret chamber, and on one occasion he lost the line and accidentally went down a small side passage before finding his way back out. However, given where the bodies were found and the fact that they were right near the rope, this seems unlikely. So ultimately, the most likely scenario is that something happened to the person in front, leading to the deaths of all 4 individuals. Following the incident, the cave entrance was sealed with cement to prevent anyone else from entering and any more tragedies from occurring.
There was a submarine story that I saw as well that I forgot what happened. The submarine, I think, was hit and damaged, and they had it was like, I think the submarine, at first it was tilted at an angle. I think it might have been tilted at an angle, and so there was the emergency escape hatch, but you can only do one person at a time. And so I think that one by one, it got up to, I think, 4 people, I think. And then I think it was a 5th person that went in there. And the thing is, once you're in the hatch, you got to close the door behind you, and then you got to let the water fill up completely before opening the hatch to get out, or before opening the top door. And this 5th person panicked and freaked out and opened up the hatch before the water filled up, and it was like a pressure problem. So the guy drowned in there. And so now 100 and something people in the submarine could not get out, and they all died. That was a crazy story too. Let me pull up this article for this cave story. There's not that much information that I could see, but I mean, just an initial quick glance. But 4 hikers found dead inside Provo Cave. Tragedy in Utah County Cave today. 2 young men, 2 young women tried swimming to an underground chamber through an underwater passageway. None of them made it. So these are the people that had passed away. Many Provo officials never knew about this cave, which is actually a mine shaft with water flowing out of it. But they do now, and they're working on sealing it up. Excuse me. Young people who did know about it call it the Cave of Death, a haunting and, as it turns out, accurate name. The cave is an intriguing sight, a short, dark entrance nestled into the mountainside. Brandon found it by accident and was planning to go inside someday. It's a picture of it. A police officer climbs out of the cave. Yeah, I ain't climbing into no shit like that. What? Brandon discovered cave. I was kind of planning on going into it someday, but I would have come back with a swimsuit because you have to submerge kind of. The cave's lure was apparently attractive enough for 5 young people to explore around, I guess 2 a.m. Thursday morning. Of the 5 friends, 4 went inside, but after waiting for hours alone, the 5th decided to go for help. The scene was a surprise for Provo rescue officials who didn't even know the cave was there. Karen Main, Provo Police Department. It was extremely difficult because of the unknown. It was dark and narrow and had very limited access. Crews quickly improvised a rescue and recovery plan, pumping air into the cave and water out. A couple of hours later, crews removed the body of 1 young woman. Shortly before noon, crews handed the other 3 through the cave entrance. Inside, one of the rescuers says it looked like the foursome had possibly drowned in the section of the mine that required them to go underwater. David Bennett, Utah County Search and Rescue, they were all in close proximity to each other, all facing the same direction, appearing as though they were coming out of the cave. A Provo crew sealed the mine shaft Thursday. They're trying to keep the so-called Cave of Death from claiming any more lives. The identities of all four of the cavers have been released. 24-year-old Blake, 28-year-old Scott, 21-year-old Jen, 18-year-old Ariel. The family of victim Jennifer knew that their daughter loved adventures, but they never thought fun would lead to death. The one thing that came from her father's mind first was that she wanted to be famous. Jennifer loved music and played bass guitar. She was even in a band. In fact, all the people who died in the cavern this morning were in that band. Oh, wow. People kept coming to the Galbraith's family home today, offering their sympathies and condolences. The family, of course, was shocked to get the phone call that their daughter had died in this accident. Jennifer, 21 years old, and had her whole life in front of her. Her family says she wanted to go far with her band and was even going to school to get an education. She had done some modeling and photography, but was always drawn to adventure. She and her boyfriend, Blake, were two of the four who died this morning. Now her family is looking back, saying she did more in her 21 years than most do in their entire life. Chris Galbraith, Jennifer's father, had a lot of friends. I think all the people she's touched in her short life, and it's pretty amazing. The only thing I can think, I'm glad that she was doing something that she loved. Her father says his parents died, and all he can think of is his parents welcoming his daughter to heaven. His father says his parents died. Oh, okay, of his parents welcoming his daughter to heaven. They sealed the entrance to the cave, has become a sacred spot of sorts dedicated to the four people who died. Two acquaintances of one of the victims came to remember their friend, leaving hand marks in the still wet concrete. They say it is a way to pay their respects. Cavers found dead. Wow. Crazy. This was back in, I don't know, let me see when this article was written. You can tell it's old though, like it's all grainy and stuff. 2005. This article was posted, so I'm guessing around then. U.S. medical professionals. Oh, 4 minutes ago? Presumed human remains recovered from Titanic wreckage? Let me see, what is it? Damn, it's already 6? What happened to today? Presumed human remains. Let's see. The Coast Guard is analyzing wreckage from the lost Titan submersible that is believed to include human remains. On Wednesday, the Coast Guard announced debris from the vessel has been returned to the land and awaits transport for analysis. The United States medical professionals will conduct a formal analysis of presumed human remains that have been carefully recovered within the Titan wreckage of the site. What? I'm grateful for the coordinated international and interagency support to recover and preserve the vital evidence at extreme offshore distances and depths. The evidence will provide investigators from several international jurisdictions with critical insights into the cause of this tragedy. There is still a substantial amount of work that needs to be done to understand the factors that led to the catastrophic loss of the Titan to ensure a similar tragedy does not occur again. That's interesting. I don't know what they found, but let's see this website here. For some reason the site doesn't want to load. Let me try over here. Maybe the website's being inundated. Yeah, it says straight from the coastguardnews.com. United States medical professionals will conduct a formal analysis of presumed human remains that have been carefully recovered within the wreckage at the site. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm gonna head out of here for now. Gotta get some dinner going, but I'll come back if there is a chase. I'm gonna do some regular house stuff. I'd like to get some more done with this video that I'm working on. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Appreciate it. Oh, and let me get this real quick. I forgot. Vic, thank you for the 20-month membership. Says why do people do these things for fun? I don't know. Young, dumb, and Miyu, thank you for the super chat. Amanda B, thank you for the 14-month membership. Amazing. Tamster, thank you for the membership. Deb McDougal, thank you for the 6-month membership. She says, I just hope they went fast. That's what they say. It would have been instant. And K Love, thank you for the 11-month membership. Thank you. See you guys. Bye. Love you. Adios.